The last meeting of the semester. How are you feeling? I hope the semester was worthwhile for you and you felt like you learned something. I hope so. All right. Uh, let's start our presentations. Is there any order that you would like to go in? Otherwise, you can go in chronological order. And actually, group 4 did tell me that, you know, you would like to go first or second. Huh?
Yeah, can we go second if possible?
We we can go
Sure.
first, I think. We
Sure.
are one, but I'm not sure who's going to share and if we are all here.
We can go third.
Okay. Um, yeah. So group 1, who wants to share the screen? And you have to email me your presentation, please. So I did not make a submission link, uh, but you have to email me. At least I should have the slides. So group 1, Kavish, Elena, CU,
Yeah,
Shampoo.
I'm trying to share, but it's not letting me.
You should be able to share.
So are we going by like orders, like group one, group two, group three, or um
Yeah, so group 1 is going first, then group 4 is going second, group 2 is going third. You
okay,
can.
so group three we're going first.
Okay, all right.
Mm.
Kavish, are you able to share your screen now?
Yeah, I'm trying desktop. It's like it's telling me like open my system settings or something. Yeah, it's like asking to grant access. I'm trying. One second.
I mean, if somebody else from the group can share.
But it's telling me to leave meeting and then I have to join back.
No, I did not change any settings or anything. Other
No, I
people.
just did it on my end, so it's telling me to leave the meeting and join again. So if you want me to,
Oh,
yeah, okay, I'll
okay,
try that. Yeah.
okay,
We don't mind going first if that would be better.
Yeah, we can also going first.
okay. Uh, Nina, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Alexa's gonna share her screen. Yeah, just give me 1 second. Okay, can we all see it?
Professor, my bad, sorry. Uh, P- Professor, one quick question. On the syllabus, you got like two emails over there. So which one should we send? Our PowerPoint to?
You mean my two email IDs, my two email addresses are showing? Huh?
Yeah. So should we send to which one or
You can
to
send to
send?
the Scarlet Mail world AV726 at Scarlet Mail.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay, can we all see this?
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, so we are group 2, and for our final presentation, we analyze Netflix.
So this is just a quick table of contents of everything we're going to be talking about in this presentation, starting with our company overview and key strategic issues, then going on to our mission, vision, and values, internal analysis, resource-based, current strategies, and recommendations and future outlook. Alrighty, so just for a quick overview of the company, Netflix, their purpose is very simple. It is to entertain the world. It is a subscription-based streaming platform that offers on-demand movies, TV shows, and original content across all genres. They have also recently started doing live sports broadcastings for some football games as well as UFC fights. They do have a broad global audience served through multiple subscription tiers, from ad-supported plans to premium ad-free options. As many of us know, when Netflix first started out, they really only had the one subscription plan. And as time has gone on, they have changed some things to make it more cost-friendly to subscribers. This is a technology-driven media company, and their content ecosystem includes in-house production, partnerships, and licensing agreements. They do have a high autonomy culture, and they do operate in a very crowded market. For example, some other streaming platforms include Hulu, Disney Plus, Apple TV, and Prime Video. So some of the strategic issues that they are facing right now is competition. As I stated before, some examples of competitors include Disney Plus and Hulu, who have recently combined forces. Prime Video and Apple TV, as well as some other free non-subscription based companies as well. And not only is the market saturated, but it is also full with better funded competition. And what that means basically is that Netflix is purely working off of the shows that either they produce or through partnerships and licensing agreements, whereas companies like Hulu do have Hulu Plus Live TV, and Disney Plus does have their entire Disney network, including Disney, ABC, and also um, their sorry, their products outside of television, including Disney parks and other things like that. Another strategic issue that they are dealing with is slowing subscriber growth. When Netflix first started, they did have a great boom in subscribers because they had never seen something like Netflix when it had first came out. And now, as time has gone on, the amount of people that are getting subscriptions to Netflix is lessening more and more as time goes on. And the third strategic issue that they are facing right now is a change in behavior from consumers and what consumers are expecting. Again, as I said, when they first started, there was one plan, and everybody was jumping basically on the bandwagon that was Netflix at the time. And now, as time has gone on, people are looking for things that are more cost effective, which has led them into making different tiers of their subscription plans. But also, certain things have changed where Netflix no longer allows you to share passwords or makes it very difficult, and has implemented a single household structure where everybody that has logged into the Netflix account has to be in one household, and it's monitored by way of Wi-Fi connection. So basically, if every device, say 5 people, have the login information for a Netflix and all of them are under one one Wi-Fi account and then you are, say, away at school and you're under a different Wi-Fi connection, it will actually prompt you saying that it seems that you are out of the household. And it also is stopping consumers from sharing passwords, which is something that was taken great advantage of. And now Netflix has kind of put an end to that by, again, with the household concept and also making it difficult to log on to Netflix on multiple different devices and in multiple different places. And I just want to have a question for everybody. If you do have Netflix and you have experienced the whole single household or the password sharing issues, how does that make you feel? Are you for it? Are you against it? Are you neutral?
This happened with me. Yeah, I used to use somebody else's password, and then suddenly one day it started showing me on the screen that, yeah, this is a different Wi-Fi. You need to upgrade your subscription to use this facility. I don't feel good about it.
I feel like it's scamming because I've been using mine on my TV at school, and then every couple of months, my subscription will be like, oh, you're paying $8 extra for an extra member, but we never added it. And every single time I delete it, it just comes back every time I go back to school. So I feel like they're like scamming at this point.
Yeah, I personally agree. I mean, obviously this is my presentation, but I have had my fair share of issues with the Netflix password sharing and single household things. It's especially frustrating when like whoever's account it is, like if I'm watching Netflix late at night and I'm in the middle of an episode or a movie and I get prompted that it seems like I'm in the wrong household and whoever is the account holder is sleeping, so I can't finish what I'm watching. So that's very frustrating. So we're gonna move on.
So now we're going to be talking about Netflix's mission, vision, and core values. So Netflix's mission statement is we aspire to entertain the world, thrilling audiences everywhere. And their vision statement is to become the best global entertainment distribution service. Their core values include the dream team, which means that they want the highest performers in their workplace, modeling themselves after a professional sports team. They also value people over the process, allowing their employees to have the freedom to make decisions over their work rather than following a strict process. Another thing they value is that they're not afraid to challenge themselves and they aim to be bold and ambitious with their decisions. And finally, they are always looking ahead as to what they can improve on. These values help Netflix achieve their mission and vision as they're demonstrating that hard work and innovation can guarantee that they are the best in streaming platforms and keeping their audiences engaged. Next slide, please. So now we're moving on to Netflix's resources and capabilities, which ties into its core competencies. So, a tangible resource is that Netflix collects data on user preferences on different movies and shows that they've watched and liked or disliked. Netflix also has consumers' trust as they have been dominating different streaming platforms for a while and they have a solid reputation. For its capabilities, Netflix has a well-known brand and the platform is easy to use for all ages. Additionally, from the data they collect as a resource, Netflix analyzes it and predicts what consumers would want to watch, increasing engagement. This ties into its core competency of connecting with consumers and getting loyalty from them, as the data they collect and analyze personalizes the user's content algorithm, therefore keeping them hooked.
Now I will discuss the current strategies of Netflix. For their business level strategy, Netflix uses a differentiation strategy. They're not trying to be the cheapest streaming service. Instead, they compete by having unique original content like Stranger Things or the new Knives Out movie, and they use strong recommendation algorithms that personalize what you see. The goal is to make the experience feel unique and hard to replace so that people stay subscribed even when the prices go up. On the corporate level side, Netflix has followed a related diversification strategy. They started with DVDs and then moved into streaming, and then now they're producing their own content, which are all closely connected activities. They've also vertically integrated by controlling both the platform and the content itself. Finally, their global strategy is huge. They operate in almost every country and invest in local shows to attract international audiences, and this helps them grow and reduce the risk by operating in many different markets. So in the case that we read, Porter talks about how real strategy is making trade-offs, meaning that a company has to decide what it's not going to do in order to have a strong strategy. Netflix is a good example of this. They basically gave up the whole physical side of their business, no stores, no DVDs anymore, no cable channels, and went all in on the streaming side of things. They also chose to spend a ton of money on original content and personalized recommendations instead of things like movie theaters or traditional TV schedules. That's a big trade-off because it's expensive and risky, but it fits their goal of being the main on-demand platform that people go to. So Netflix isn't trying to be everything. They're not a retailer, they're not a cable network, they're not a movie theater chain. By saying no to those things, they're able to focus and be really strong in one position, which is exactly what Porter means by using trade-offs to create a strategy.
So Netflix does use the M&A strategy, but instead of merging with other companies, they tend to acquire a lot of small companies to help build their capabilities. When I was researching, I kept seeing the phrase builder, not buyers, which kind of just reinforces the fact that they're just acquiring all these businesses, specifically content and IP, production studios and gaming studios, to build their internal skills rather than eliminating the competition. If you look on the right, that's everything they have acquired so far, and they are now currently in a bidding war for Warner Bros. Against Paramount, which has been going on for a couple months. And I think it was this month or maybe December that they just put an all cash offer. So that's like I think the first competitor that they're buying rather than like eliminating. Um, this all matters because this helps Netflix create original content and improve their production quality while also expanding into an interactive entertainment. One of the shows that comes to mind for like interactive is Black Mirror. It's when you're watching it, you can kind of pick like what path you want to take in the shows, and they're able to do that when they're acquiring all these like contents from other studios and making shows out of it. Next slide. So, international strategy is one of the core parts of Netflix business model. Netflix is currently available in over 190 countries, and most of its future growth is coming out of the United States. Um, Rather than expanding all at once, Netflix chose to go in stages to see how the markets react rather than just going out all at once. Um, To compete globally, Netflix offers multiple language options and original content and adapts their prices to the region so consumers are actually wanting to pay and it's not too much for them. They also make their content accessible to all these different countries and areas with subtitles and dubbing. And if you don't know what dubbing is, it's when they refilm the show in like a different language so they can understand it. This reduces Netflix dependence on the US market by allowing it to reach a larger audience and helps regional shows gain a more broader popularity within the different countries. And next slide. Netflix also uses cooperative strategies, mainly through partnerships rather than ownerships. One of the most important examples is Netflix Open Connect program, where they work directly with internet service providers. So instead of paying the internet service providers or building their own, they place their servers inside of the networks to deliver the content more efficiently. This helps them with a lot of like saving with money because um like when they're going through the internet service providers, they're gaining a benefit because people are using them more. And since they're all over the world, you can get your shows faster and it's more reliable. Netflix also partners with smart TVs and device manufacturers to make the app easy to access and with telecom companies through subscription bundling. Um, this makes expansion into new countries easier and reduces network congestion for internet service providers, which supports Netflix global scaling strategy. Okay, next slide. Netflix's CSR initiatives focus on how the company operates responsibly while growing globally. This includes lowering its environmental impact during filming and operations, using more substantial production practices, supporting diversity and inclusion in both content and creators, and maintaining ethical standards across global productions. These initiatives matter strategically because they improve Netflix's brand reputation, helps attract creators and employees, align with audience values, and reduces long-term risk. Together, all these strategies support Netflix's differentiation through original content, global reach, and flexibility in a high competitive streaming industry. Excellent. So now we'll be moving on to recommendations and the future outlook of Netflix. So going back to the three main issues Alexa identified earlier, here are key strategic recommendations for Netflix. First, to address competition, Netflix needs to continue differentiating itself from other streaming platforms. One way to do this is to continue investing in exclusive original content, but also by expanding gaming and interactive content. Like I talked about Black Mirror before, viewers could actually choose what happens in the next episode, so that's something that's more interactive and goes beyond traditional streaming, which gives Netflix something that other companies can't easily copy. Second, when it comes to restarting subscriber growth, Netflix needs to focus on lowering barriers to enter while still encouraging people to play. Um, like Alexa said, Netflix has already introduced the password sharing policy, but on its own, that policy doesn't really attract new subscribers because it's really just angering them. I don't think they should get rid of it, but they should definitely edit it, I guess, and fix it. In many cases, people either stop watching altogether or continue sharing accounts anyway. Because of that, they should really just adjust it rather than relying on it completely. And to support growth more efficiently, Netflix should also continue expanding lower cost and ad-supported options so price-sensitive users have an easier way to subscribe. Increasing partnerships with telecom companies for subscription bundling can also help them reach new customers that may or may not have signed up for a Netflix subscription on their own. Finally, to adapt to changing viewer behaviors and expectations, Netflix should focus on shorter, more engaging content, improve their personalization, and continue enhancing the user experience across different devices. As people's viewing habits change, the platform needs to change with it and offer and put first the shows that would grasp their attention. Overall, all these recommendations focus on helping Netflix stand out in a competitive market, restart subscriber growth, and better match how audiences want to watch content today. Next slide.
For Netflix's future outlook, the company is operating in a much more mature and competitive streaming industry than when it first launched. So growth is no longer driven by the rapid subscriber increases, as we've mentioned, but rather through diversification, monetization, and efficiency in their platform. And in this slide, I kind of wrap up all that we've talked about, and then kind of the direction Netflix is moving. So my first point, news business verticals. Netflix is starting to look beyond just traditional streaming. So again, they've been investing in gaming and interactive entertainment by acquiring gaming studios and even making mobile games tied to popular shows like their original series, Stranger Things, which just wrapped up. I don't know who here finished the season. I personally haven't. I stopped halfway through. But I know Netflix was able to make a lot of money through Stranger Things, and they continue to keep users engaged with that content outside of just their shows. They're also moving into live events, most notably their deal with streaming WWE programming, so wrestling, which brings in a different kind of audience. And I think these moves really help Netflix get more value out of existing content and reducing their reliance on subscriptions. As for content expansion, this is kind of like on the same point, but they've been putting more effort into creating local shows that can also succeed globally. So a good example is Squid Games. It was produced in South Korea, but it became popular really around the world. And other global hits like Money Heist, which also started off as a Spanish series, but again, it gained popularity around the world. And Netflix supports this strategy. Again, we mentioned through subtitles, dubbing, and region-specific pricing so that the audiences in different regions can enjoy Netflix. And this just helps to attract viewers around the world without relying only on US-based content. Touching on technology again, Netflix relies heavily on data and personalization to keep people watching. So if you've noticed, if you have a Netflix account, you have personal recommendations based on what you've watched previously and what you've rated. And it curates basically a personal homepage for you. So that's why users can have very different homepages. So Netflix uses this viewing data to decide what content to renew or invest in, which also can help them in the long term reduce risks for expensive flops. I also wanted to talk about risks. So Netflix does face several risks from competition, but also regulation and like the growing pressure of regulatory pressure. Major competitors like Disney Plus, Prime Video, Apple TV, they have deep financial backing, and so they can afford to spend heavily on content. But Netflix operates in many countries, so that means they also have different regulations around content, data privacy, and pricing that they need to abide by. So the rising content costs and pressure to keep subscription prices affordable also create challenges for them for long-term profitability. And then for market trends, the streaming industry is clearly slowing down as I believe Alexa mentioned in terms of new subscriber growth. Most households already subscribe to at least one or two streaming services. So it makes it harder for platforms to keep adding users. And because of this, companies are focusing more on keeping existing subscribers and finding ways to make more money per user. Again, that's why we're seeing more ads, more password sharing crackdowns, and a focus on bundle subscriptions. And then in terms of new revenue, Netflix is no longer relying on monthly subscriptions. The ad-supported tier gives users a cheaper option, and it allows Netflix to earn money from advertisers. And they're also testing price increases in certain regions and exploring ways to monetize that through licensing, games, and merchandising. So they're bringing in additional revenue without necessarily needing more of a subscriber growth. Given all that we've said, Netflix is likely to grow beyond just a streaming service, and they're moving towards becoming a more well-rounded entertainment platform that's focused less on adding new subscribers and more on increasing value per user through ads, new experiences, and global content. Looking ahead, I think Netflix will likely expand on live programming beyond WWE and more into sports, comedy, or even special events to encourage real-time viewing and to attract advertisers. And also just growing their gaming and interactive offerings to popular shows. And at the same time, the company is also expected to gradually raise prices, pushing more users toward the ad-supported tier and continuing to invest heavily on international markets where there's still strong growth potential. Slide, please. And these are our sources, and that is our presentation. Are there any questions at this time?
Great presentation. You should have used this in your introduction slide. And Netflix is opening a studio in New Jersey as well. Have you heard of that? Actually, New Jersey is attracting a lot of film studios. So Lionsgate, Netflix, and even Paramount, they all are opening the
Yeah,
studio.
there's people are saying that New Jersey is like becoming the next Hollywood.
Yes, yes, exactly. All right, good job, guys. Uh, let's move to next presentation.
Yeah, Professor, can group one go next? I'll try to share my screen.
If you don't
Okay,
mind, I think one of our group mates has to go on mute later on to go to a dentist appointment. So can our group go first?
Oh, okay. Yeah. You guys go first.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah, I can share if you want.
I have one question, Professor. Do we really have the time limits? How much time do we have to do the presentation?
I mean, I mentioned that should be around 15 to 20 minutes, but are you going beyond over that or under that? I
I
mean,
don't know.
over that probably. Huh?
Yeah.
That's fine. I won't
Oh,
penalize you, but it just becomes, people tend to lose attention. Like attention spans are not that great anymore, so they tend to get bored and lose focus. But yeah, if you can keep us engaged, uh, and if you're telling us something interesting, we don't mind going over that, but don't go too beyond that. Right? That's it.
sure. Thank you.
Can everyone see the slides?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll start. So we're doing Apple Inc., and we're gonna talk a little bit more about the company's policy and strategy. So we're Team 4, and I'll let everyone introduce themselves.
I'm JT Gloucester.
I'm Ethan too.
I'm Robert Kanuni.
I'm Stephen Clark.
And I'm Jackson Fenner.
So for some of the content we're going to look at, we're going to do company introductions, key strategic issues, mission, vision, and core values, resource-based model, business and corporate level strategies, trade-off utilization, external strategies, recommendations, and finally, future outlook.
So, for purpose and offerings, Apple's purpose is to deliver seamless, integrated technology experiences rather than just competing purely on price or specifications. What they do is they design their products to work together as a single ecosystem, combining hardware, software, services in a way that emphasizes simplicity, reliability, and user experience. What their core offerings include are devices that we're familiar with: the iPhone, the Mac, the iPad, the Apple Watch, AirPods. These act as entry points into the broader Apple ecosystem, and they're all tightly integrated with Apple's proprietary operating systems. And this increases convenience for users while also raising switching costs, because once you're in the system, you don't want to, it's really hard to get out of it. But in recent years, Apple has placed growing strategic emphasis on other services such as iCloud, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, their App Store. And what these do is these generate recurring revenue, and they carry higher margins than their hardware. And this helps Apple reduce dependency on cyclical device upgrades. So when you buy the iPad or the phone, they make more than money on the apps and the services you buy than the actual device. And then when we move along to our target customers on the next slide, when Apple targets a broad customer market base, and they're focused on generally premium seeking customers who value design, reliability, and kind of that whole ecosystem that integrates where everything just works, kind of as Apple calls it, magic. A key segment for Apple is their Gen Z and millennial demographics, and both are drawn not only for the functionality of the Apple products, but also to the brand's identity and its social status. Apple also does appeal to professionals, students, and creatives who rely on their devices for productivity, for consistency. And back into the case of creatives, Apple kind of really is a very strong foothold in that whole photo, video, all of that kind of area. So it does have a very strong following. And over time, Apple has built these loyal customer bases and gotten them very deeply embedded into their ecosystem. And this makes switching to competitors difficult. In addition, Apple attracts their privacy conscious customers who have a strong stance on data protection. And this allows these segments allow Apple to maintain premium pricing while sustaining long-term customer loyalty. And then we move over to the infrastructure. At a company level, Apple's infrastructure is centralized, based on centralized control and coordination. Major strategic decisions are made at the corporate level rather than being delegated to individual product divisions. So this centralized approach supports consistency across Apple products, their services, their global operations. But Apple also operates with standardized processes, and these processes are applied across regions and products lines. And what this does, it helps maintain quality and brand alignment at scale. So it's all uniform. Its infrastructure is designed to support long-term strategic execution rather than a short-term experimentation. They kind of play for the long game. And while this structure strengthens their control and their integration, it does increase complexity as the company grows, and it makes it harder to respond to local market changes because you're going for that long game. But overall, Apple's infrastructure is kind of a deliberate trade-off between the control and the flexibility. Their organizational structure uses it's kind of gathered around product lines. So the teams are grouped by expertise. So you'll have design teams, engineering teams, operations teams. And instead of being dedicated to specific products like the phone or the Mac, these teams will be based on design for all the products, engineering for all the products. And that's what kind of keeps everything uniform. And what this structure allows is Apple to centralize control over critical functions and ensure that the same design and engineering standards apply across all their products. And that cross-functional connectivity and collaboration between their devices, this is what lets it happen. And it's essential for their tightly integrated ecosystem. But this structure limits internal competition between product teams, and it can slow decision-making. It can affect the organization at scale, because while it supports consistency and quality, it does require strong leadership coordination to remain effective when you're a company the size of Apple, which is kind of a challenge in and of itself. And then for their leadership, Apple's leadership model, it's highly centralized, and it's been shaped by a long history of top-down decision-making. Originally under Steve Jobs, now today under CEO Tim Cook, Apple maintains a very clear long-term strategic direction while placing a strong emphasis on operational execution. What they do is leadership at Apple prioritizes that consistency, brand protection, integrated product development, and aligns to the company's structure. So instead of letting those individual product divisions design products, Apple's senior leadership coordinates all the major priorities across design, engineering, operations, and delegates them out. The advantage of this leadership approach is that Apple can move as one company, and that protects its quality, it reinforces its ecosystem, and keeps the user experience consistent across all product lines. But again, the trade-off is speed and flexibility. It's hard to make quick changes when you're doing that long game. So centralized leadership makes it that it's very slow to experiment and make adaptation harder as the organization grows and enters new markets. And then as we move to the sourcing part, here Apple relies on a global outsourced supply chain to manufacture its products. And its major partners are concentrated primarily in China, and they are increasing their diversification in the countries such as India, Southeast Asia, Vietnam. Apple designs its products internally here in the US, but sources components from a wide network of specialized suppliers around the world. But one of Apple's strengths is its scale, and it gives them significant bargaining power with suppliers and access to advanced components. When you're the size of Apple and you need 5 billion screens, companies will be, for your iPhone or your iPad, whatever, you're going to get these companies beating down the door because they want that business of that scale. And this helps Apple, and because these large purchases take place, it helps Apple maintain premium margins despite the high production cost of their devices, because they're able to work with their suppliers that will do anything for the business, but they keep their pricing high, which does increase their margins. But at the same time, this supply chain does create a strategic risk. Apple is exposed to the different geopolitical tensions around the world, labor concerns, supply disruptions back during COVID-19 when there were parts shortages everywhere. Today, when we have tariffs impacting different countries and production shifting around to try and avoid tariffs. So as a result, Apple has begun investing in supply chain diversification in order to improve their resilience in that area. And then as we move on to the culture and policies, Apple's culture, they're categorized by secrecy, precision, and an intense focus on quality. Their information is tightly controlled internally. It helps prevent leaks. It supports Apple's really highly choreographed product launches, where they'll pretty much get the idea going for the event, and they're going to leave their keynotes and their product launches, and they just drip the content out or information out to make you wonder what's going to be coming. And there's never any leaks on what's coming generally. They're very secretive. And this culture reinforces Apple's brand mystique, their attention to detail. But Apple also emphasizes privacy and security as their core values. And they position themselves as consumer-focused alternatives to competitors that rely heavily on data monetization. So this stance strengthens trust. It aligns with the expectations of many modern consumers. In terms of policies, Apple publicly will commit to their sustainability, diversity, ethical sourcing, but the company has faced some past criticism over labor practices within its supply chain because they do outsource to other companies. It's kind of not 100% guaranteed they can control what those companies do. So they really have to make sure that those companies align with Apple's policies. And this, if not, it creates a reputational risk if the execution doesn't fully match their stated values.
And just to go a little bit into some key competitors. So, Apple has a wide range of what it does really, because not only does it like manufacture like iPhones and like telecommunication, but also works with, laptops. It does cloud storage. It does, payments with like Apple Cash. They have their own streaming service, Apple TV Plus. So these on the side are some of the competitors in different markets. So like Samsung and Xiaomi are obviously cell phone competitors with it. Lenovo, Microsoft, those are very big like laptop competitors with this Microsoft Surface, and like Lenovo is actually the largest has the largest market share of any like laptop or desktop manufacturer in that sector. And then across the middle, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon all kind of compete for that like cloud storage and like big tech market along with Apple. Then PayPal is a clear competitor for payment services, so clear competitor for Apple Cash. Netflix is the clear competitor for Apple TV Plus, with Netflix holding the largest market share, and Spotify would be the direct competitor for like Apple Music. So in general, like as Apple like expands and reaches these different markets, it also has to consider, which competitors it's competing with who already have their foot in the door, so to say.
So Apple is facing several key strategic issues as it continues to grow at a global scale. One major issue is revenue concentration risk. Apple relies heavily on iPhone sales, which makes the company vulnerable as as a smartphone market becomes more satire and the customers upgrade less frequently, which push more and more pressure on Apple. Another issue is preserving is uh, is pressure on premium positioning. As competitors release high quality devices at lower prices, this makes it harder for Apple to justify premium prices and maintain high profit margins. Apple also faces challenges with government at scale. As the company rapidly expands into several and new hardware categories, it introduces more complexity and risk to platform consistency and brand identity. Finally, differentiation with AI is critical as AI interfaces become more and more common. Apple must significantly involve, I'd say, Siri and integrate more AI deeply across its products and platforms to remain competitive in this space. Now here we're going to go over the mission and vision of Apple. So Apple's mission is to bring the best user experience to its customers through innovation, hardware, software, and services. This mission explains Apple's focus on seamless design, ease of use, and strong integration across all of its products. Apple's vision is to make the best products on Earth and leave the world a better place than it was found. This reflects Apple's long-term focus on innovation, sustainability, and social responsibility. Together, the mission, Together, the mission and vision show that Apple aims to balance cutting-edge technology with ethical responsibility and long-term impact, not just short-term profits. So, Apple's core values guide how the company designs products, treats its people, and operates globally. So, starting off with accessibility is viewed as a compliance requirement, but as a fundamental human right as well. Apple aims to ensure its technology is usable by everyone, regardless of physical or cognitive abilities. Education also reflects Apple's focus on empowering the younger generation as well as students and teachers with the use of technology to expand its high quality learning opportunities and the environment that it has. Uh, the environment that it brings Apple together and its ecosystem is probably one of the most important core values of the company. The company has built much of its reputation around its sustainability, working to reduce its environmental impact across its supply chain and entire product lifecycle. Inclusion and diversity focus on building a workforce and reflects the world that Apple has brought up around it, ensuring that different perspectives are represented within the company. And another one of Apple's core values is privacy, as Apple positions privacy as a fundamental human right and a competitive advantage by minimizing data collection and giving users more control. Racial equality and justice represents Apple's commitment to addressing systematic racism through integrative aimed and reduce barriers to entry and to opportunity. Finally, supplier responsibility is critical because Apple relies on a global supply chain. This value focuses on safe working conditions and fair treatment for people who manufacture Apple products.
And for this slide, we're going to be looking at the resource-based model, and we're going to look at how internal resources and capabilities give a competitive edge for Apple. To start off with resources, Apple has tangible assets such as a massive cash reserves, as well as global retail network that spans a lot of countries, a lot of the major countries. And it also has the proprietary Apple Silicon chip, which includes the M and A series chips. For intangible resources, it's even greater how they have a very important brand equity premium. This is seen through how the phones sell for 2 to 3 times the price of what the resources cost, as well as intellectual property and copyrights that they own, as well as a tightly integrated ecosystem and a long-term and great long-term supplier relationships with partners like TSM and Foxconn. On the human side, it's important to also know that Apple employs world-class designers, engineers, and software teams supported by a strong top management discipline. All these sources combine into capabilities for vertical integration, designing chips, operating systems, hardware, and services in-house for the ecosystem coordination across products, premium product development, and global scale supply chain execution. Together, these capabilities produce Apple's core competencies, integrated ecosystem design, silicon-driven differentiation with performance per watt advantages, and brand-based pricing power that competitors struggle to replicate. Next slide. For business level strategy, they follow a differentiation strategy. Apple competes primarily on performance, design, privacy, and ecosystem integration rather than a price. The goal is not to be the cheapest, but to deliver superior perceived value. This differentiation supports premium pricing, which is justified by a better user experience and high switching costs once customers are embedded in the Apple ecosystem. That ecosystem that we mentioned includes iPhones, MacBooks, Apple Watch, iPads, Apple TV, but also includes stuff that I learned doing this project, such as like they have their own version of Alexa and then they have their own version of Ring camera. And I know they have a home, they also have a home system. So they really dive into many products that they sell and as well as software. I don't know who runs a lot, but they also do fitness apps and they do running app and they really integrate with Nike on their watches and their sports. So importantly, Apple targets a broad market, not a niche one, but it captures value by tiering products and maintaining premium positioning. And this allows Apple to combine scale with high margins, which is rare in consumer electronics. For corporate level strategy, Apple pursues highly related diversification. Its products are tightly linked through shared operating systems, Mac OS or an OS, uh, silicon architecture, and core technologies, and it creates economies of scope across the portfolio. Apple also uses limited vertical integration. Forward integration includes owning retail stores that sell the products around the world, and Apple in China and really everywhere in Europe, and digital distribution like the App Store, where you can get where you can buy some subscriptions that Apple offers, or you can buy apps that they sell. Uh, for backward integration, it includes chip design through fabrication, which is outsourced. Crucially, Apple avoids unrelated diversification, which prevents a conglomerate discount, and this keeps the firm strategically focused. And finally, Apple benefits from a strong corporate parenting advantage. Centralized control in Cupertino, California ensures platform consistency, discipline, uh, capital allocation, and protection of ecosystem integrity. And this allows the entire portfolio to perform better than individually.
Okay, I'm going to be going over some of the ways Apple uses trade-offs to create a competitive advantage. So broadly, Apple chooses control and integration over their products and services rather than market share and flexibility. And Michael Porter would argue that Apple's strategy with trade-offs creates very strong barriers to imitation. And I'll get into why. So the first strategic choice I want to talk about is their proprietary ecosystem. Um, so Apple creates their ecosystem to where they're very connected among Apple products, but not that connected to say Windows or Android products or other products. So the trade-off here is a loss of compatibility, where Apple products lose compatibility with, 70+% of global devices. But the competitive advantage here is that for those Apple products themselves, it is a seamless fit between those native devices. And it also, in terms of a strategic move, creates higher switching costs for consumers, where if they switch to a new product, all these things they bought may not connect to those products. And also better privacy control because your products aren't connecting to other products that you have less control over. So their proprietary strategy creates a moat for them, where it's very hard to compete with it. They also implement premium pricing. And the trade-off here is they lose low-income market segments and they lose a little bit of volume overall. But the advantage is brand prestige, R&D funding capacity, and supplier power. If because Apple products cost a lot, there's prestige behind it, and if you have an iPhone or a MacBook, there's that social element that people buy into. Lastly, they implement a limited SKU count, which means a loss of niche customer needs. You're not going to have as much custom hardware, as much variety. But the advantage is it's much easier to uphold supply chain efficiency, marketing clarity, and unified developer platforms. So there's a lot more simplicity in the whole system, and at the scale they're working at, that's something that really is an advantage over just having a ton of different products. Okay, next slide. Okay, I'm also going to be going over the additional strategies and initiatives that Apple partakes in. So as far as their M&A strategy, they're pretty risk averse here. They don't really target many huge companies, and their largest acquisition to date, I think, was Beats, which was a $3 billion acquisition. So they're very selective. They're very technology driven. Recently, lots of small AR, VR, AI, and health investments, like Xnor.ai and XVP. As far as their international strategy, they standardize their product line throughout the global markets, and they outsource their manufacturing agreements to companies like Foxconn and Pegatron, which we talked about, and also to countries like India and Vietnam. And they have software specifications that match each country's standards and regularities. As far as their cooperative strategy, they strategically outsource certain things. Like, for example, with like Apple Wallet, they're outsourcing that financial backend to certain banks. More recently, there was an announcement as far as their Siri product where there's a lot of costs associated with developing like generative AI models. So instead of spending billions of dollars developing their own, they decided to outsource that to Google through their Gemini for their Siri and their products. And also they borrow brand prestige in collaborations with brands like Nike and Hermes. And also they secure hardware exclusivity by partnering with suppliers to pre-purchase large amounts of capacity. So they get discounts on what they're buying because they purchase in such large amounts. Lastly, there's CSR initiatives. Apple has a 2030 commitment, which is a comprehensive roadmap to achieve carbon neutrality. They're actually known as one of the most forward-thinking companies when it comes to environmental and carbon neutral thinking. And they probably are going to hit that 2030 target. And lastly, Racial Equity and Justice Initiative is a long-term initiative they have, which is a financial commitment focused on dismantling systematic and social barriers within their company and also outside their company. So investing money in those areas. Okay, next slide.
Okay, so I'll try to go quick through these. So for some of the recommendations based on the current strategy and how to improve it, so kind of tying into some of those key strategic issues and a lot of, the strengths that Apple has that we spoke about already. So one of the things we were looking at is through deepening their differentiation through their privacy, user experience, and ecosystem, which are debatably their strongest points. So, like privacy, for instance, I added this little advertisement from Apple actually. I don't know if this ever aired in the US, but I saw it a lot in the EU, because that was like one of their focuses to sell more phones in the EU, through saying that they were more private than, other technology giants were. So trying to get people to change through that. So adding more strength and emphasis on that privacy, user experience, and the ecosystem, how iPads, Macs, iPhones all kind of work together, is definitely something that they should put more effort into and use it to, justify their status, their premium pricing, and everything in between. And then the next point, the leverage related to diversification. This is where, more of those opinions get in. So Apple actually has about 50% of their revenue, debated between 50 and 58% is actually from iPhones alone. So something that they should do is try to push their diversified products more. So things like Macs or iPads, or even, their streaming services, Apple TV, to try and boost that revenue and become less reliant on a singular product, because obviously as time passes, people find new things and obsolescence is inevitable. So to keep Apple on top, they obviously want to innovate, which is something that they definitely do a lot of, and they want to also, I think, try to divert push more of their diversification that they already have invested so much money into. And this one's more of like a personal opinion. And I know a lot of people might disagree. And I'm very open to hearing if anyone does disagree. But I think another point that could leverage their diversification is to approach we'll call it the lower side of the market, because, as a premium product, Apple tries to sell things more expensively. But I believe that they could do like a acquisition of a smaller company to make, budget phones, for instance, and sell it under that company's name in order to, expand into the lower side of the market. Kind of like a reverse of what Toyota did, because Toyota is like the budget brand, and then they actually made their own luxury brand, which is Lexus. So almost like an inverse of that. Then controlled accessibility and platform governance. So that would like improve how Apple directly works. So Apple works a lot with, outside companies, retail companies, or phone companies. So, you can walk into a Verizon and buy an iPhone. But trying to, expand how they directly reach out. So they already have Apple stores, but there's definitely more ways that they could expand to reach customers in this way. One of the things that they did recently was the Apple trade-ins. So directly through like Apple stores, which used to be something that was more exclusive to like I said, like cell phone companies like Verizon, where you would trade in your old phone for a new phone. Um, so pushing more towards that, and then also adding on to more value and more revenue streams, they could add more services for the customers. So bundled services, subscriptions, and ecosystem benefits. Some which they already kind of integrated. So which I wrote like the iCloud storage free trials. Like if you buy like a new iPad, it'll say you get a iCloud Premium or whatever it is, the 15 gigabyte. Free storage for like a month, and then it's like 99 cents every month after. So adding more things like that would definitely help them control their diversification and how they get those revenue streams. And then the last point is something that I think Apple has been a little bit behind quite a bit, especially related to the rest of the market, which we did already touch upon, was AI. So Apple obviously is working with AI. They have Siri. They were actually one of like the first companies to make a more public-facing AI with Siri many years ago. But they have since fallen behind to companies like OpenAI and Google. And I think that adding AI, especially as the market's shifting, is something that will add another layer of differentiation for Apple to keep it where it is, keep it at the top. Because these are now features that customers are going to be requiring and asking for, as AI develops. And then as for future outlook, so the industry outlook, kind of like I mentioned in the last slide, so AI is becoming like a huge thing. So, trying to focus their efforts like into AI more and understanding the hardware market and how it's changing. So things like their M1 chips, which we spoke about, and how integrating like the new mechanics into those CPUs and maybe even working with GPU partners, so like NVIDIA, because NVIDIA is like the strongest in the market for GPUs, to increase their technological advantage in computers and even possibly in iPhones if they can figure out a way to put GPUs in an iPhone. And also understanding, how changes in like policy will affect them. So there was like a couple years back, there was a big lawsuit with like Epic Games against Apple, the Play Store or the App Store, sorry. And it was essentially saying that like Apple's App Store is like a monopoly. So obviously some laws have changed. I think there was much less effect in the US, but there was a big effect in the EU. Like Apple had to reduce how much they were gaining from developers off of the App Store, and Epic Games also became like another platform in the EU. So it added a new competitor there. So understanding these changes in not only competition but also like regulation, because this was obviously government push with that Epic Games lawsuit. So obviously like centering what they're doing and how to do it and taking that information and applying it to what they do well. So privacy, brand loyalty, and their ecosystem to make sure that people are happy, people are content, and that their switching costs are also high, so they get more revenue and are able to keep people happy. As for Apple itself, kind of reiterating, I think like Apple's dominance as it is, it won't really change. I think that Apple will obviously remain an industry leader for a long, long time. But obviously, as the market changes, they want to adapt to the market. So, like things like AI, keeping their premium pricing models with these changes, uh, in order to keep using the idea that they're a premium product, they want to add premium technology, and that premium technology right now is like AI. And then also having that centralized control. So having everything work out of like California and being able to expand globally into different markets, selling in a lot of different countries is something that's very important. And expanding their global outreach is definitely something that's going to help them out in the future as in a lot of countries, they are doing well. Obviously, the US, China is their second largest country of sales where they're doing sales. But there are some countries like the EU in general, where they aren't as heavily dominating, and they could put a lot more effort into that in the future. And that pretty much covers it. So thank you. And these are our sources. If anyone has any questions, let me know.
Thank you, group. Great presentation. That video and that Toyota example was pretty good. Liked it. All right. So we move to next is Kavish. Would you like to check if your
Can
uh,
we to group one go next?
group one, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking. Kavish is in your group, right? So
Yeah, he said he can, but like
Can
I'll
anybody
try to do it.
try to?
yeah,
Yeah,
if
I'll try to
others,
share mine.
yeah, you can share your screen. Yeah, if he's not able
Yeah,
to. Sure. Okay.
just give me
Yeah.
like what 1 minute.
Yeah. Sure.
Just to double check.
Yeah.
Can you guys see the
AMC.
screen?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, we can say.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You guys.
So today we are presenting AMC Theaters. If you can please turn the slide. AMC is the largest theater chain in the United States and the world, and it strives to provide a superior experience to its customers. The theater has been founded in 1920s and is currently offers movie tickets, private event rentals, upgraded auditoriums with luxurious settings for comfort and food concessions. AMC customers are families, teenagers, adults, and moviegoers who, of all ages, who appreciate an elevated cinema experience. AMC's frequent customers may become members through the AMC's loyalty program. The cinema has a massive network of theaters all over the US and other countries, thousands of Dolby projection screens, advanced sound system, and mobile apps. The strategy used by AMC is regional and local management with departments for finance, marketing, and IT. Since January 2016, Adam Aaron has been serving as the CEO, chairman of the board, president, and director of AMC. The second slide, please. The company's supply chain relies on major film studios, Warner Bros., Sony, Universal, and Disney. AMC also benefits from suppliers of food and beverages, technology providers, and real estate, since most of the spaces where AMC operates are leased. The culture is focused on providing a premium customer experience, innovation, and quality. As for its policies, the emphasis is on safety, trained employees, promotion, and dynamic pricing strategies. The cinema's direct competitors include other major cinemas such as Regal Cinema, Cineplex, and Marcus Theater, as well as independent local theaters. And their indirect competitors are home entertainment providers such as HBO, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and many others. Currently, the AMC faces many strategic issues, such as increased financial debt, and ever since prior to the pandemic, the attendance for the movies did not return to what it was prior to COVID pandemic levels, and intense competition from other cinemas, and as well as indirect competition are some of the issues that they are currently facing.
All right. So for the mission versus statement and core values, for the mission, AMC's mission is we make smells happen. And for the version statement, to be the global leader in the territorial exhibition by delivering the most immersive and premium movie-going experience possible. For the core values, they have the two core values. The first one is, wait, give me 1 minute. The first one is the unparalleled guest experience, and the second one is innovation and premium format. For the resource-based modules, for the resource, they have the tangible resource and intangible resource. So for the tangible resource, they have around 860 theaters and 9,600 screens globally. For the intangible resource, the AMC enjoys high recognition in the United States. For the capabilities, the AMC are efficiently utilized its theaters and screens to achieve strength profitabilities. And for the AMC's strong reputation allows it better retain customers. For the core competencies, they have the customer loyalty and premium movie going on screen. And for the next slide, it should be presented by Jack, but like he's on surgery, so Siyu will present his part.
Oh, okay. So moving to our analysis of AMC's overall strategy, AMC uses differentiation by offering premium experience that you can get at home. IMAX screens, Dolby Cinema, luxury recliners, and expanded food options beyond basic popcorn. Their betting customer will pay a premium for superior and differentiated experience. Their 25 million member loyalty program drives repeat visits. They charge premium prices for this premium format at corporate level. They've grown by acquiring chain like Carmike and Odin to become the world's largest theater operator. This gives them better negotiation power with the studio and spreads cost across more locations. They are also diversify revenue with otherwise advertising, private rental, and special event, plus expanding international to reduce US dependence. Next, please. So, as we learned in Porter's article, Porter argued the strategy requires trade-off, which is company must choose what to do in order to sustain the competitive advantage. Okay, look at ANC, we see it's largely follow Michael Porter's advice on strategy. As we mentioned before, AMC has clear chosen a differentiation strategy focused on premium experience. So this strategy choices come with like conscious trade-offs by investing higher quality amenities and exclusive format. And AMC has trade-off the low-cost operation. I don't know why the screenshot I took from their financial report is not here, but it's also reflected there in their financials. Look, the screenshot I attached is in 2024. Their cash flow is that AMC's operation activities actually uses cash, and yet they are still pouring near like 200 million into capital expenditure, and the massive investment primarily goes to their Go plan, which is they upgrading their all the experience. I mean, like the seating, like recliners in their theater, those premium format, and resulting is like significant negative free cash flow of almost 300 millions. And the financial reports also tell us that AMC is sacrificing the short-term financial flexibility to in cash to fund the long-term investment that underpin its differentiated their premium position, and they're choosing to invest in the future customer experience over just instead of just preserving in the immediate cash on hand. Next, please.
So for AMC, their overall market strategy is shaped by how they grow, where they operate, and who they partner with, and how they act as a responsible company. So first, looking at their mergers and acquisitions, AMC has used acquisitions in the past to expand quickly and increase its market share. This strategy helped AMC become the largest movie theater chain in the world and gave it more bargaining power with movie studios. Recently, though, AMC has slowed down on its acquisitions because of high debt and has shifted its focus towards stabilizing operations and improving cash flow. Next is AMC's international strategy. Oh, wait, can you go back? Yeah. Next is AMC's international strategy. AMC operates not only in the United States, but also in Europe, which allows the company to diversify its revenue. By being in multiple markets, AMC reduces its dependence on the US box office and can better handle fluctuations in movie attendance. This supports AMC's long-term goal of being a global entertainment brand. Next slide. So in terms of their corporative strategy, AMC relies heavily on partnerships. The company works closely with movie studios to offer exclusive releases and special screenings. AMC has also partnered with other content providers to show live sports, concerts, and special events, which helps bring in customers even when movie releases are slow. So actually, a recent example of this would be they partnered with Netflix and Stranger Things to show the final episode of the season in theaters. And then finally, AMC's corporate social responsibility initiatives focus on sustainability and inclusion. The company works to reduce energy use and waste in theaters and promotes diversity and inclusion within its workforce. These efforts help improve AMC's public image and build long-term loyalty with customers. Next slide.
So to strengthen AMC's position, we recommend three strategy moves. First is deepen the premium experience through the exclusive content partnerships. AMC can negotiate earlier or exclusive the theoretical windows with studio and streaming platform. This leverage AMC's scale and strengthen its differentiation and turning the theater into must-visit destination. And second, expanding non-movie revenue stream. Actually, they're already doing that. But it's more mainly focused on the private rental. But our suggestion is that they can host events like gaming tournaments, broadcast, or other events to increase their non-movie revenue stream. Next. Actually, third, it's optimizing its global footprint with a focus on profitability, not just scale. In practice, this means AMC should consider divesting underperforming international location and investing those resources into high potential market and premium format upgraded in its top performing theaters. And this move it's a financial imperative, and it's supposed to has a 10K financial report here. But according to AMC's 10K revenue financial report, in 2024, AMC took a non-cash impairment charge of 20.4 million on 23 theater and 188 screen in their international market. And it's a accounting admission, which is a formal recognition that these assets are no longer to expected to deliver return what they once there. So that's directly hits profitability, and it's a pretty clear signal that parts of their international portfolio has become a drag on the company. And second, consider the debt burden left over from the era of aggressive expansion, as we mentioned before in their corporate strategy. The scale of the obligation track trace back to the leverage acquisition of the chain like the Odin and UCI in mid 2010s. And the cost of carrying debts is like staggering. In 2024 alone, instead of interest expense reached to 443.7 million, and the money doesn't go into improving their customer experience or like paying down any debts. It's like just pure financial overhead. So we're seeing here the dual burden is international asset that being write down and its massive debts. Then our third recommendation is that by divesting underperforming international location, AMC can stop their financial bleeding, free up those capital, so AMC can concentrate its capital attention to performing what it already done best in its core market, which is in the United States.
So looking ahead, the movie theater industry is going to keep changing as streaming services and at-home entertainment continues to grow. Movie theaters won't disappear, but they'll be more dependent on big blockbuster releases and premium experiences that people can't get at home. So for AMC, the future is less about rapid expansion and more about financial stability. The company will likely focus on reducing debt while investing in higher quality experiences like IMAX, Dolby Cinemas, and luxury seating. AMC is also expected to rely more on non-traditional content such as concerts, live sports, and special events to bring people into theaters. Overall, AMC will need to evolve just from being a movie theater into a full entertainment destination, offering you unique experiences that make leaving home worth it. Next slide.
Right. Thank you, guys. Interesting. AMC is an interesting choice. I so just a few days ago there was Golden Globes, right? And so many actors and actresses actually talked about it that due to the streaming services, people are not going to movie theaters as much as they used to go to. So that is a big concern for them as well because earnings from movie theaters gives far larger, far bigger numbers than selling at Netflix or OTT platforms. And it's an experience, right? And especially the actors and actresses who work in these movies, they want people to experience it in theaters rather than at homes on TV screens. So Leonardo DiCaprio talked about it, and I remember many other big directors. I think James Cameron, these people also talked about it. That it's hurting their revenues as well as their motivation to make films if people are not going to theaters. I do like watching movies in theaters. I did not used to watch much in India, but in the last 5 years here in US, I have watched more than 30 movies in theaters. So I do like to go to theater to watch a movie. And most of the earnings of the theaters They do not come from movies. I mean, their overall revenues do come from ticket sales, but profits come from food, beverages, and food, not from ticket sales, because the ticket sale revenues, most of the amount is taken by film studios. So theaters don't get to keep much of it. So their purpose is to attract people to come to the theater to watch the movie, but ultimately sell food and beverages to get their profits, because ticket sales won't give them profit. That is just like Walmart wants people to come to Walmart for groceries, but ultimately they want to sell them apparels and electronics. Those groceries don't give them much profits or margins. Right. All right, let's move to the
Yeah, we're group
next.
3. Can I share the screen, Yao-Kun? Yeah, so like everybody already seen, we are presenting NVIDIA, probably like the most famous company like right now, and can I go to the next slide? Yes, as you asked, so we list out the resources we used in this PowerPoint, and let me just go through the agenda for you guys real quick. So I am going to give us like a brief overview about the media like for now, and then my teammates going to do the analysis on strategies and challenges of NVIDIA, and also provide some recommendation for NVIDIA. Probably not that professional, but it's from our recommendations, and also give out the future outlook for the company. Next slide. And to begin with, I will just give out some like probably like most well-known background of NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is the leading technology company focused on accelerated computing and artificial intelligence. Its mission is to powering accelerated computing and artificial intelligence to solve humanity's biggest challenges, said by Jensen Huang. And NVIDIA follows a differentiation strategies, offering highly special GPUs, AI accelerators, and proprietary software ecosystem, the most known as CUDA, the Compute Unified Device Architectures. This offering serves multiple end markets, including data centers, gaming, professional visualizations, and automotive, allowing NVIDIA to leverage its core technologies across industries. Next slide. Next slide. And if we pull back to a bit to see the history of NVIDIA, it's like a really young company. So NVIDIA was founded in 1993 by Jensen Huang, Chris McCloskey, and Curtis Privin, with an early focus on highly performance graphics for gaming and visualizations. So one of its first products, the NV1 graphics card, established the technique foundation of the later involved into NVIDIA's dominant GPU architectures. So the culture for NVIDIA was set by the founders mentioned above since the beginning of the company. NVIDIA will always be innovation-driven and engineering-centric, emphasizing long-term experimentation, repeat iteration, and high performance standards. So the company encourages calculated risk-taking, which aligns closely with the resource-based view of strategies, where intangible assets like knowledge and culture drive sustainable advantages. From a governance standpoint, NVIDIA maintains strong policies and around intellectual property protection, ethical compliance, and global regulator standards, while also promoting diversity and inclusion. So this culture and governance practice reinforce trust, innovation, and strategy displaying across the organizations. Next slide. So this slide highlights NVIDIA's internal organization. I put up like the top managers of NVIDIA. We can see is still led by the founders, which is Jensen Huang. And this company operates under a functional and platform-oriented structures organized around two major segments, compute networking and graphics. NVIDIA follows a fabless semiconductor model, meaning it's focused on design and architecture while outsourcing all the manufacturing to external foundries. The key supply chain partners, including Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company and Samsung for water vibration, and for advanced packaging technology, they use CoWoS, and for memory suppliers such as HBM and other assembly and testing partners. And from a value chain perspective, NVIDIA concentrates its internal resources on design architecture, and software, while outsourcing capital-intensive manufacturing allowed to remain as flexible and innovation-focused. And NVIDIA operates in a highly competitive and fast-cycle industry. Its direct competitors, including AMD, which competes in GPUs and AI accelerator, and also companies like Intel, which competes in CPUs and emerging accelerator technologies. So in addition, NVIDIA also faces indirect, or we can say ecosystem competitors, particular large cloud providers such as Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, which are increasingly designing in-house chips as well as specialized AI chips startups. So the nature of revenue in this industry could be defined as high research and developed intensity, and repeat technology changing, and the importance of first moving advantages. So NVIDIA can outperform in such a highly competitive industries. Their strategies make some sense. I will pass this to Yao Kun for the analysis part.
Yep. When people talk about NVIDIA today, they usually focus on one thing, then the overwhelming demand. If NVIDIA is selling out every GPU it can produce, why is buyer power still a problem? But strategically, demand is not NVIDIA's real problem anymore. The first issue is actually buyer power. NVIDIA's growth is increasingly driven by a small number of hyperscalers. In the short run, scarcity gives NVIDIA leverage, but here's the paradox. The more NVIDIA depends on these customers, the more incentive those customers have to reduce dependence through custom silicon or multi-vendor strategies. So NVIDIA's biggest customer are also its most credible future substitutes. The second issue is export controls. This is often framed as a revenue loss problem, but strategically it's much deeper. Export restrictions fragment NVIDIA's market and force parallel product roadmaps. More importantly, they change customer behavior even outside restricted regions by encouraging long-term design out strategies. Third, NVIDIA faces supply chain constraints exactly where it matters most. Advanced nodes, packaging, and HBM are not just inputs. They define NVIDIA's ability to scale. And as NVIDIA moves from chips to systems, one weak link can limit the entire platform. Finally, AI computation itself is changing. We are moving from training to inference economics. Performance still matters, but cost, efficiency, reliability, and security increasingly define winners. So NVIDIA's core challenge today is not selling more GPUs, it's maintaining a platform instability while customers, governments, and the technologies are all pushing toward diversification. This slide is about mission vision, but not as corporate statements. The question is, what kind of strategy do they force NVIDIA to play? NVIDIA does something very intentional. It frames its mission at the platform and the infrastructure level, not at the product level. That sounds abstract, but it's powerful. It means NVIDIA is not committing to GPUs, it's committing to being the foundation of AI computing. That framing expands the firm's strategic scope. It justifies heavy investment in software, networking, the system integration, even when product level ROI is unclear. In other words, NVIDIA is optimizing for ecosystem control, not quarterly efficiency. The vision then makes a second commitment. Innovation needs differentiation. NVIDIA explicitly choosing not to compete on cost. That choice brings consequences higher fixed cost, deeper supply chain dependence, and greater regulatory exposure. It also means there's very little room for fallback. If NVIDIA ever loses technological leadership, the strategy collapsed quickly. This is where core value matter. Risk tolerance enable multi-year architecture bets. A low hierarchy one-team culture makes cross-stack coordination possible. Technical excellence keeps developer inside the ecosystem. These are not cultural slogans. They are execution mechanisms. But there's tension. Platform control creates power, but also scrutiny. Innovation speed creates advantages, but also execution risk. So NVIDIA's mission and value don't just guide behavior; they lock the firm into a high risk, high reward strategic identity. Our resource-based model known as RBV helps explain why NVIDIA has been so hard to displace, but also why that advantage is fragile if mismanagement. Start with resources. NVIDIA doesn't just own fast chips; it owns a proprietary software ecosystem and integrated hardware stack and deep relationships across the AI supply chain. Individually, these are valuable. Together, they create switching costs that are organizational, not technical. Question: if competitors eventually match chip performance, where does NVIDIA still win? The real insight comes at the capability level. NVIDIA doesn't compete where rivals wanted to compete at the chips. It keeps redefining the unit of computation upward from chips to nodes to rank and to clusters. That move turns computation into a coordination problem rather than a benchmark problem. Its core competency is platform orchestration at industrial scale. Performance scaling happens through interconnect and architecture, not just the silicon. Reliability, security, and manageability are built into the system, which matters as AI moves from experiments to production. When you put this together, NVIDIA satisfies the VRIO conditions, but here's the key insight. The advantage is platform-based, not permanent. It only holds if NVIDIA can keep platform coherent and scale, regulation, and custom pressure increase. So RBV explains not just why NVIDIA is winning, but what is most lose control of.
And hi, here comes to my part, which is the NVIDIA's business level and corporate level strategies.
And at the business level, NVIDIA follows a differentiation strategy. It completes on like advanced technology, the AI leadership, and performance rather than the prices. So like the customer chose NVIDIA because of its powerful GPUs and software ecosystem. It's not because it's like the cheapest option for the customer. So this create like a high switching cost, like through platform like CUDA and AI framework. And at the corporate level, the NVIDIA use like focus diversification. Like it operates in areas such as like a data center and gaming and automotive and professional visualization. But like all of this like relies on the same core technology, which is the accelerated computing. So this strong alignment allowed NVIDIA to earn like premium margins and focus resources on high growth and high barriers market. And next, please. And this slide shows how NVIDIA clearly follows Michael Porter's idea that strategy requires trade-off. NVIDIA's choose like performance leadership instead of the cost leadership. It invests heavily on cutting-edge R&D, and even if that leads to like higher price for customers. And at the same time, like NVIDIA focus on high-end market like AI, data center, and advanced computing. It avoid low cost, commoditized, and cheap markets and does not compete in mass market CPUs. NVIDIA also stay fabless, which is NVIDIA choosing not to manufacture its own chips. These choices create like a clear and focused strategy that is difficult for the competitors to initiate. And next, please. And here's the growth and M&A and global strategy for the NVIDIA. So NVIDIA's growth strategy focus on highly target acquisitions rather than large mergers. These acquisitions are chosen to strengthen their specific capabilities, such as AI data centers and networking. So the goal is to support the NVIDIA's core platform, like including the GPUs, AI software, and accelerate computing. So instead of expanding into unrelated areas. So for globally, NVIDIA has a strong presence in the US, in Asia, and Europe. Like the companies follow a fabless model, like I talked before, meaning it designs the chips but relies on global manufacturing partners. So this allowed NVIDIA to scale efficiently while managing their supply chain and geopolitical risks. And overall, these strategies helped NVIDIA to innovate faster while staying flexible and technological strong. And that's all for me and comes to the Ishan's part.
Okay, so let's move on to my strategy recommendation for NVIDIA. And the key strategy direction that NVIDIA should reinforce is cost differentiation rather than compete on price. And instead of competing on hardware alone, NVIDIA should continue to compete on performance and its broader ecosystem. So, uh, so NVIDIA should strengthen its CUDA and the AI software ecosystem, and this ecosystem create a high switching cost for customers and make it difficult for them to move to alternative hardware solution. So by focusing less on pure hardware substitution and more on integrated hardware and software solutions, NVIDIA can protect its competitive advantage and reduce the risks posed by customer developing or switching to alternative chips. And next slide. Okay, so this slide highlight the trade-offs required to support this strategy and the expected impact. So firstly, NVIDIA should accept clear trade-offs by continuing to focus on high-end performance and R&D while avoiding low-cost max market expansions. Although this may limit short-term market size, it helps preserve strategic focus, and these trade-offs lead to several important outcomes. They limit buyer bargaining power, especially from large cloud providers, and help maintain strategic coherence across NVIDIA's business. And most importantly, this approach positions NVIDIA as a long-term AI infrastructure leader rather than a commodity hardware suppliers, which is critical for sustaining its competitive advantage in the AI market. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
So here's the future outlook part. And based on our earlier analysis and recommendation, the AI and semiconductor industry is expected to remain very capital intensive and highly concentrated. And this means it will still be very difficult for new firms to enter, but competition will increasingly come from existing players like AMD and Intel, as well as cloud giants such as Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, who are all trying to reduce their reliance on NVIDIA. At the same time, these large customers are being more powerful by building their own AI chips and data center capabilities, which give them more bargaining power when working with NVIDIA. Also, the regulation and geopolitics, especially US and China restrictions, are playing a bigger role in where NVIDIA can sell its products and how fast it can grow. So the industry outlook remains strong, but it's becoming more complex and more competitive. Next slide, please. So, given this industry environment, NVIDIA's future becomes more challenging as hardware performance becomes easier for competitors to catch up with over time. NVIDIA can't rely on chips alone to stay ahead, just as Yishun said in the recommendation part. So in the future, NVIDIA's long-term success will be more on its software platforms, its ecosystem, and how well all of these pieces work together. And NVIDIA is also becoming more dependent on external partners like the foundries and cloud customers, as well as on regulatory and geopolitical conditions. So NVIDIA is very well positioned today. Its future success will require more than just strong technology. Next slide, please. And so here's NVIDIA's official future positioning, and from NVIDIA's own perspective, and from their website, the company positions itself as a long-term leader in AI and accelerated computing. NVIDIA's future plans mainly focus on expanding its AI infrastructure platform. This includes next-generation GPUs, AI-focused CPUs like NVIDIA Grace, high-speed networking, and continued development of software platforms such as CUDA. Overall, the goal is to support large-scale AI workloads across data centers and cloud environments. So before we finish, here's an interesting short video of NVIDIA's robot named Greek. Yeah.
We need to share sound from your Zoom settings. click on those three dots. There would be an option of share computer sound. Never mind, if you're not able to, just start the video again, and because there are captions, so we can read. No problem.
Okay, so I think I failed to share the sound.
Yeah, just start the video again. No problem. You just play it again. All right, thank you guys. I really like
Thank you
that
guys.
point
Awesome.
that most of the customers of NVIDIA are also its potential substitutes. That was very interesting. Yeah. It's a very complex problem for NVIDIA, right? Okay, so we move to our last presentation, group 5. Who would like to share a screen? Jay, Avish, Aman, Catherine. Hmm?
Yeah, I can
This
share
one.
my screen.
Okay.
1 minute. All right. Can you guys see?
Yes.
Yeah, we get
Perfect. Yeah. Hey guys. So we're presenting Red Lobster. It's a restaurant, and my name's Jay.
My name is Aman.
I'm
Um,
Katie.
Vish.
Awesome. So starting with the table of contents, we have the introduction on key strategic issues, mission, vision, and core values, resource-based model, business and corporate level strategy, external environment and porters advice, strategies, which involve a couple of things, and recommendations and future outlook. Starting with company introduction.
So, to start with a brief company introduction, Red Lobster, if you're not familiar with the brand, it's an American casual dining restaurant chain that specializes in seafood, as the name suggests, but they also offer non-seafood options like chicken, steak, pasta, and appetizers. They're known for its value-oriented seafood as well as their cheddar bay biscuits. I'm not super familiar with the restaurant. I've never been there, so not sure what those are, but they're supposed to be famous for that.
Seafood also generally tends to be expensive, but Red Lobster targets its brand towards families looking for an affordable, sit-down, casual dining experience. And as such, they offer many value promotions, they serve familiar dishes, and they offer generous portion sizes. Um, when I was looking into Red Lobster's competitors, I found that they don't have that many super close competitors because seafood is mainly geared towards the high-end consumer. But that's a good thing because it means that Red Lobster's business model is pretty unique. But the closest competitors that I found for Red Lobster within the seafood realm are Joe's Crab Shack, Bonefish Grill, Captain's Boil, and Bubba Gump Shrimp. And also within the larger casual dining sector, you could also consider competitors to be companies like Applebee's or Chili's or even Outback Steakhouse could be considered a competitor. Red Lobster is led by Damola Adamolikan, who is the CEO that was appointed in 2024, and he's also the head of the private equity group that owns Red Lobster. And below him in the organizational structure are other C-suite roles and functional heads that oversee different functional groups such as operations, marketing, sourcing, and product management. Could you go to the next slide? So to continue with the company introduction, in regards to Red Lobster's supply chain, Red Lobster prides itself on having traceable seafood that is responsibly and sustainably sourced. So if you look on their website, they have a page called Sourcing Our Seafood where you can see exactly where each type of protein is sourced based on what season you're looking at. And I think it's good that Red Lobster has diversified sourcing as seafood is inherently volatile and it varies with weather and catch rates. And so the supplier availability and cost can vary from year to year. So by diversifying their sourcing, they're able to spread that risk out. In terms of their culture, Red Lobster promotes a people-first, hospitality-driven culture that's centered on teamwork, respect, and caring for their guests and other employees. They call it a lobster life mindset, which is essentially the internal culture philosophy that encourages their employees to create a welcoming, family-friendly experience. Red Lobster has 544 locations across the US and Canada. And something to note is that it had 719 locations at its peak, but it recently closed over 100 of their locations due to their bankruptcy process. And only recently has Red Lobster successfully exited this Chapter 11 restructuring, and that was in September 2024. So now onto some key strategic issues. I would say that the main key strategic issue that Red Lobster faces is poor financial decisions that harm the profitability of the business. So, for example, I'm not sure if anyone has seen or heard of this promotion, but they had an ultimate spend less shrimp promotion, which essentially, like, for $25, Red Lobster was offering an endless shrimp deal. And it actually was very popular and it brought a lot of business to Red Lobster, but the problem was that the company actually lost a lot of money on this promotion. And so in 2023 alone, they lost $20 million just due to this shrimp promotion, and that contributed to their bankruptcy. And another like key poor financial decision from Red Lobster was flawed sale leasebacks. Previously, like Red Lobster was owned by a different private equity firm, and essentially um, this firm had sold a lot of the property that Red Lobster had owned and allowed Red Lobster to basically lease back this property as if they were like tenants. And so this led to huge rent expenses for Red Lobster. In 2024, Red Lobster reported paying almost $200 million in rent. And so it was through this flawed deal that it incurred like a huge cost for Red Lobster and they lost a lot of money. Another key strategic issue for Red Lobster is changing consumer tastes. Red Lobster had helped popularize the casual dining experience, but consumer habits have since then shifted towards more faster, more convenient options. So during, for instance, in 2024, fast casual restaurant chains experienced a 9% increase in sales, and that compared to just 1.3% for casual dining. And so as consumer preferences continue to evolve, that's a big consideration for Red Lobster. And lastly, Red Lobster has struggled to expand its customer base. Red Lobster as a chain is incredibly popular amongst baby boomers, as they call them. So half of all of Red Lobster's customers are above the age of 55, which I feel like is pretty interesting. And also like they found that their loyal customers have remained, but the chain itself couldn't grow beyond its established audience. And so that's another key strategic issue. And lastly, I'll be talking about the vision, mission, and core values of Red Lobster and evaluating them. So first off, for the vision, Red Lobster's vision is essentially to be where the world goes for seafood now and for generations. And I think that this is a really great vision, but it's very difficult to achieve, as seen by they're having difficulty in terms of getting new customers. So to be where the world goes for seafood now and for generations, I feel like is kind of challenging. And also like Red Lobster, like they market themselves as a seafood chain solely. And so I feel like it's difficult to appeal to people who aren't necessarily seafood lovers. And so their customer base in that sense is limited. In terms of their mission is seafood we serve is sourced in ways that are traceable, sustainable, and responsible. I'm not going to elaborate a lot on this, but I feel like they do a good job of achieving this mission, and it's good as it aligns with customer expectations for ethical sourcing. And lastly, for their core values, I couldn't find any official core values on their website, but based on their actions, these are the ones that I came up with that seem to be very important to Red Lobster. And those are sustainability, quality, adaptability, and hospitality.
Okay, so for this slide, we're looking at Red Lobster through resource-based models, which is basically about understanding what the company already has internally and how those things create an advantage over competitors. I'll go through three different parts: resources, capabilities, and core competencies, and then explain how they all connect. So, starting with resources, Red Lobster has several strong, tangible resources. First, there's brand recognition. Red Lobster is one of the most recognizable names in the seafood casual dining experience. Um, and even people who don't eat there often still know the brand and what it stands for. They also have large national footprint with over 500 locations across the U.S., like Katie said, and Canada. And that scale gives them visibility, customer access, and purchasing power that smaller competitors just don't have. Another major tangible resource is their established seafood supplier network, because seafood sourcing can be complex, volatile, and having long-term supply relationship is a big advantage. They also have a signature product, like Katie mentioned. It's especially cheddar bay biscuits, which is on the top right of the slide, which acts almost as like a brand symbol for the restaurant. It's something customers specifically associate with Red Lobster. On the intangible side, Red Lobster benefits from decades of brand equity and customer familiarity. Many customers grew up going to Red Lobster, so there's a level of trust and nostalgia built into the brand. They also have a deep seafood sourcing knowledge and strong supplier relationships that have been built over time. Finally, going through the bankruptcy forced the company to rethink its operations. Say they now have post bankruptcy restructuring knowledge, which they can actually be learning and an advantage moving forward. And when you combine these resources, they create important capabilities. One key capability is Red Lobster's ability to source, prepare, and serve seafood at scale, which is not easy in casual dining. They're also capable of menu innovation and promotional execution, especially through limited time offerings and that drive traffic. Standardized operations across hundreds of locations help ensure a consistent experience nationwide. After restructuring, they've also improved cost control and operational efficiency, which is critical in low margin industries. And all of this leads into Red Lobster's competencies. Their biggest core competency is seafood focused casual dining experience, expertise at scale, which is difficult for competitors to replicate. They're also differentiated around value oriented seafood and signature offerings, which reinforce their brand position. Strong supply chain coordination ensures seafood availability across the country. And finally, their operational scalability allows them to operate nationally while maintaining consistency. Next slide, please. So using those resources and competencies, we can now understand how Red Lobster approaches strategy at both the business and corporate level. So starting with business level strategy, the Red Lobster follows a broad differentiation strategy with the casual dining industry. They differentiate themselves by focusing on seafood, which is a niche compared to most casual dining chains that center around burgers or chicken. At the same time, Red Lobster emphasizes value-oriented pricing, trying to make seafood feel affordable while still offering a sit-down dining experience. Their strong brand recognition and signature items help attract a broad customer base, especially families and value-conscious diners. However, one of the challenges they faced was trying to balance value with profitability, which we saw with an aggressive promotion like Endless Shrimp. That brings us to corporate level strategy. At the corporate level strategy, Red Lobster has focused heavily on retrenchment and restructuring following its Chapter 11 exit in 2024. They reduced the restaurant footprint so they could focus on higher performing locations rather than trying to operate too many underperforming stores. They also moved away from aggressive promotions that were hurting margins, even if the promotions drove short term traffic. The company is now refocusing on operational efficiency, cost control, and financial discipline rather than chasing growth at all costs. This shift aligns closely with Porter's idea that strategy requires trade offs. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, Red Lobster is narrowing its focus to a more sustainable position. Overall, Red Lobster's strategy right now is stabilizing the business, rebuilding profitability, and getting the fundamentals right. Only after the foundation is rebuilt does the company plan to pursue future growth opportunities. Next slide, please.
So up to this point, we've shown what Red Lobster does, who it serves, what resources it has, and the strategic issues that pushed it into trouble. And so we could directly connect that story to Michael Porter's argument about what is strategy and what is trade-offs. Because Porter says a strategic position only holds when a firm makes hard choices, not just when it tries to improve everything across its all scopes. Porter's core idea here is that trade-offs happen when activities are incompatible. You can't simultaneously configure the business for two different value propositions without creating major inefficiencies. Trade-offs create the need for choice, and it also protects you from straddlers, or companies that try to copy a position while keeping their old one. He warns that if managers believe they can beat rivals on every dimension at once, trade-offs start to feel unnecessary, even though they're not. And so Red Lobster is a really clean example of what happens when trade-offs get blurred. One major failure that Red Lobster had was trying to be a value leader as a brand while still operating a full-service seafood at scale model. And so those are two very different activity systems. One is having that full service model, and the other one is having that seafood at scale model, while also trying to be a value leader. The most visible case of this was the endless shrimp decision that we mentioned previously. That promotion caused about 11 million in quarter 3 losses, and it was reported that it potentially cost about 20 million at the end of 2023. And that was a classic trade-off violation. To win on price and volume, you needed a system designed like a low-cost operator, but Red Lobster systems still carried that full-service complexity and cost. And it wasn't limited to just promotions. The company had major fixed cost pressure. Restaurant Dive, citing bankruptcy filings, noted over 190 million in a year, I think. And when you combine these high fixed costs with aggressive discounting, like this whole margin math collapses. They had issues of inflation, rent costs, and management decisions, including that endless shrimp. But there is also a success side to this trade-off idea. The post-Chapter 11 plan is basically an attempt to reintroduce discipline and clearer trade-offs. The restructuring kept 544 locations open and included more than 60 million in new funding to reinvigorate this brand. And the new leadership message is consistent with Porter's strategic agenda. Porter says strategy is the place for defining a unique position, making clear trade-offs, and tightening that fit. And that's exactly what Red Lobster is doing. They are refocusing value without recreating that old unlimited promo trap, with a deliberate emphasis on hospitality and service as a differentiator, something that fast casual can't replicate the same way. And so the key takeaway from this slide is that the Red Lobster's downturn showed what Porter called the dangers of trying to compete in two ways at once. And this turnaround that they made worked when the company committed to clear trade-offs and aligning their entire activity system and supply chain around them.
So, diving into their international strategy, currently the company has a relatively small international footprint, with most expansion occurring through franchising and licensing, but particularly in Asia and the Middle East. While this approach lowers capital requirements and reduces risk, it also has limited the company's ability to build a strong and consistent global brand. The lack of a unified international branding strategy has resulted in a weak global recognition and underexposure in seafood-heavy markets, especially in Asia, where demand fundamentals are like very strong. As a result, while international operations are low risk, they are also underutilized as a growth driver. Um, Moving on to corporate strategy, the company's cooperative strategy is heavily centered on a long-term relationships with seafood suppliers, particularly shrimp providers as well. While these partnerships ensure supplier reliability, the heavy dependence on shrimp exposes the firms to significant cost volatility when commodity prices spike. Compared to competitors, the company has fewer strategic alliances with technology firms or delivery platforms, limiting differentiation and innovation. Overall, weak cooperative partnerships increase operational risks and compress margins, especially during times of supply chain disruption or commodity inflation. Moving on to their CSR initiatives, they're actually doing pretty good. The company has made credible commitments to sustainable seafood sourcing and responsible for fishing practices, supported by community level charitable initiatives. These efforts reflect strong underlying values and align well with growing consumer interest in sustainability and ESG principles as well. However, CSR initiatives are not fully integrated into the brand's core identity um, or marketing strategy. As a result, while these initiatives create a positive impact, they're under leveraged and did not translate into meaningful pricing power, customer loyalty, or brand differentiation, representing a missed opportunity, particularly among ESG conscious consumers. Moving on to strategic recommendations. So, a couple of recommendations we came up with, starting with rebuilding their value proposition, is the first our first recommendation is to rebuild the company's core value proposition. Past promotion strategies such as endless shrimp promotion drove traffic, but ultimately destroyed profitability due to rising input and labor costs. Moving forward, the focus should shift away from value-driven discounting towards sustainable margins. This includes modernizing the menu with healthier, higher quality options and repositioning the brand to appeal to younger consumers who value freshness, transparency, and contemporary dining experiences. By doing this, the company can protect margins while rebuilding brand relevance. Talking about the digital transformation, um, launching a mobile app and a structured loyalty program, as we see in a lot of restaurants nowadays, like Chipotle or like any restaurant, you name it, would improve customer engagement, increase visit frequency, and generate valuable customer data. This data can be leveraged to personalize promotions, optimize pricing, and better understand customer preferences as well. In addition to data analytics can be used internally to improve demand forecasting, reduce waste, and enhance operational efficiency. Overall, digital capabilities would allow the company to compete more effectively in an increasingly tech-driven restaurant industry. Some other recommendations we had was operational restructuring and financial restructuring. Starting with operational restructuring, large traditional dine-in formats have become costly and inefficient given changing consumer behavior. Shifting towards smaller store footprints and incorporating a hybrid fast casual model would increase kitchen throughput and reduce labor intensity as well. Automation and streamlined kitchen process can further improve speed and consistency while lowering operation costs. These changes would allow the company to serve more customers with fewer resources and adapt better to off-premise demands. Uh, Talking about financial restructuring as well. Um, this includes renegotiating unfavorable lease agreements and exiting underperforming locations that consistently generate losses. By aligning the cost structure with current market conditions, the company can improve cash flow and reduce fixed cost pressure. These actions create financial flexibility, allowing management to reinvest in higher return initiatives such as digital capabilities and brands positioning. Lastly, to the future outlook.
So we've established a strategic position, unclear trade-offs, and an unstable positioning. And so this slide's more about what the future looks like for Red Lobster and what the industry environment is doing to it. On the left side, the restaurant industry is still dealing with high value sensitivity. The National Restaurant Association research reports that about 95% of operators say that diners are more value conscious now, and nearly half of operators plan to add discounts or value promotions. That same piece hints at a shift in what value means. Operators have to connect value not only to price, but also to quality and service. And so that's a big deal for Red Lobster because seafood is naturally costlier than burgers or chicken. And so value can't only be about being the cheapest in their case. There's a lot of traffic pressure across the industry. There's a report that shows that same store traffic is at about negative 1.5% year over year, while sales were only modestly positive. And so a lot of brands are growing mainly through price, not more guests. And that's the environment that Red Lobster is trying to recover in. Winning means taking share of customer interactions, not relying on overall market growth. And for that third point, inflation and cost pressure continue for the restaurant industry. The BLS CPI release for December 25 shows that food away from home is up 4.1% over the year, and full service meals are up 4.9%. So even if inflation cools, labor and input volatility still make it hard for a full service chain with high fixed costs, and you have to also rely on that constant discounting. So what does Red Lobster need to evolve into? The first is a simpler, more consistent guest experience. That means fewer moving parts, fewer SKUs, better execution, and tighter operational routines. This isn't operations improvement, it's about protecting that strategy that they've come out of the Chapter 11 from. Porter said that the strategic agenda is where you make trade-offs and tighten that fit, and so it demands that discipline over the compromise of what they were doing early. A disciplined value platform is the thing that avoids Porter's straddling trap. Red Lobster can always offer that always on value, but it has to choose the kind of value that matches this new model that they're building upon, like bundled meals or targeted deals, without recreating that unlimited promotion that breaks capacity and margins. That's the lesson from the endless shrimp era, where value without a compatible operating model destroys profitability. And for the final point, they need to increase their digital and off-premise in a very selective way. In this new economy and in this new environment that we're in, a lot of traffic, I think about 75% of restaurant traffic is off premises. That means like takeout. And so for Red Lobster, the key phrase is selective. We want to push items that travel well and protect the brand, especially because it's seafood. Because if off-premise forces the menu to become generic, you lose that differentiation that we were so hard to try to get on after the Chapter 11. And so this Porter's tie-in is what is the thing that frames the future. They should have a strategic position that should have a long horizon, and that continuity builds capability and fit over time. And so this is what will allow Red Lobster to make the system better year after year. I think that's it.
Good job, guys. In presentation, I don't have much idea about Red Lobster though, because I'm vegetarian. I've never eaten in a restaurant. But restaurant industry is also facing problems, especially not many people are dining now. A lot of online ordering culture, right? So that is also affecting the restaurant industry in unique ways. Not necessarily negative, because if you're ordering from the same restaurant online, then they don't mind that. But yeah, a lot has evolved since COVID, right? Habits have changed, both in movie industry as well as restaurant industry. And we teach a case in actually IB, International Business Course, Harley Davidson case. And as Katie mentioned, that Red Lobster has been facing issues that most of its customer segment is above 55 years of age. And Harley Davidson case also, that is the main problem that Harley Davidson is facing, that most of its customers are of old age, and it does not have the same kind of reputation and traction in the younger generation. So it reminded me of that case. All right, guys. It was wonderful teaching you this semester. One problem that we face in winter semester is that the average score in tests is very high as compared to fall and spring semesters. Now, it could mean two things. One, the section is really intelligent, or you guys are cheating, right? So I would like to believe that you guys are very intelligent. You are more intelligent than the in-person classes. I would tend to believe that. But the problem that we instructors face, is that there's a cap on the number of A's that you can give. I don't mind giving a lot of A's. I don't mind giving 80% of the class an A. I don't care. But department places a cap that you cannot give more than, say, 30, 35%, or in exceptional cases like 40% A's. So that is a problem that we have to face. So the distinction would come from the participation section, right? So if you have not participated at all throughout the semester, or you have participated just once or maybe twice, don't expect like points in the participation section. That is what it's meant to be, right? And the standard is set by how much should one participate That is the question, right? So standard is set by the people who participate, right? Like Robert, Elena, like those who participate regularly. Uh, so they set a datum, right? Like how much should one participate? So if they are getting, say, 10 out of 10 in participation, and if someone who spoke just once, maybe I cannot give that person a 10 or, a 9, right? Or 8. That would be unfair with people who have been regularly interacting in the class, right? So I just wanted to convey that because I face a dilemma, right? So how much to give and how much not. So I just wanted to tell that to you. All right. That's it. Good luck for all your future endeavors, and I hope to see you around. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Professor.
Professor.
Thank you,
Enjoy your
Professor.
screen session.
Professor.
See you.
Bye,
Bye.
Professor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.